What's good, everybody, and welcome to the End Goal Podcast. Today, I want to recap with you guys a little bit. I want to recap the entire 2025 with you guys. Kind of talk about a little bit of like where I've been, what I've been doing, and then I want to look forward to 2026 with the help of Sahil Bloom, essentially. I'm going to need his help for 2026 for sure. You might have noticed that there wasn't an episode uploaded last week, and that's mainly because I got hit with the flu and I just didn't record something in time. I sounded awful. I felt awful. I was so exhausted that I just wasn't going to be able to get something up for you guys in time, in good quality, just in general. And I didn't want to push it. I am a bit disappointed that literally at this point in December is when my, you know, streak of uploading every single week has broken. That is a bit disappointing. I will be honest. I had a video for you guys in mind. It was going to be the last interview of the year. It just didn't end up happening, and I was talking with my buddy, and the schedules just weren't lining up. And at some point, I was like, I can't keep pushing it off. We'll just try it again in January. But for December, like, I'm not doing this because I came back from my trip from Switzerland, Italy, and that first week was just work, 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 work. Get up JB's interview. I really enjoyed JB's interview, conversation rather, and getting those clips and things up. I would have had this other one ready for you guys. Just it didn't work out with the schedule. And then the flu hit randomly on a Tuesday. I got hit with the flu. I was out for 4 days, and I just couldn't. I really couldn't get off my bed for the most part. I haven't gotten a flu in years. I don't get flu shots either, but I haven't gotten hit with the flu in years. And so I was really annoyed. I was really annoyed. It did bring with it some interesting personal insights, so that I thought might be interesting to share. The first one was that because I was so bedridden, um, I thought that this would be a good time to like chill, relax, read, whatever it is, and I couldn't even do that. My brain was just so tired. I couldn't even read. I couldn't really just like do anything but like sit there and moving in just a little bit to go um, get something to eat from downstairs and going back up the stairs and coming back to the bed, like just exhausted me. And then I just crashed out again. They say you need to drink a lot of fluids and get a lot of rest. And I was deliberately trying not to sleep so much because it felt wasteful. It felt like a waste of time if I just kept like sleeping. And so I kept trying to find things to do that I could fit into the little like 10-20% energy capacity that I had in those moments. I was trying to find things to do. And there wasn't much for me to do. I couldn't record, therefore I couldn't edit anything. Um, my brain wasn't up to snuff, essentially. I didn't have the brain juice that I needed to like actually be productive and get things done. And then I was like, why do I need to be productive? Presumably I got the flu because I got the flu, but also, I've been working hard for quite a while. Why do I need to be productive right now too? What's the need for that? And then that thought kind of spiraled a little bit into feeling a bit of worthlessness, a bit of uselessness, not gonna lie to you. What happened was when my wife would come home from work, she would help take care of me essentially because I was just so bad, like body aches, like that's that. I think the worst part was when when the effects of the acetaminophen weren't active. You get like this like tingly feeling on your skin where everything that you touch just like feels uncomfortable. And I told her, I was like, don't touch me, just because like I feel awful. Like this feels uncomfortable. I don't like this. Just don't touch me. Um, and that was affecting me like doing anything in general. And so she did a lot of like cooking and cleaning and like helping me out and making sure that I was like taking things and helping like reminding me to take my temperature and all these things. And so I felt really annoyed. I was like, I can't help her help me, weirdly enough. And the irony in that is if I would just listen to what she was telling me to do it and sleep and rest, that would be me helping her help me. But I was not the best patient. I'm not the best patient in these kind of situations. I tend to argue a little bit like I don't want this, I don't need this, I'm fine, etc. and then I'm still like on the bed, just washed out, just really just tired. So the flu hit me pretty hard there. But what I will say is it kind of put me into a bit of a despair. I had another one of my frequent episodes that I do when it comes to these side hobbies and things that I'm doing where I was like, am I still am I still progressing towards a goal? Or at this point, am I spending all of this energy that I have on the book side of this and recording shorts, 7 to 10 shorts a week, and recording 45 episodes for one book and uploading all those things, and doing the podcast on this side, recording, editing, posting everything? Is it fruitful? Because I look at every now and then I'll get like a new podcaster like that I've never at least never heard of before, but they're pretty established in the podcasting scene, I guess. Like I'll see their video come up either on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever it is, and they have follows and they have the certain guests and they have all that stuff, and I look at that and I'm like, that's crazy. Where did this person come from? I've never seen them in my life. How did they get here? Um, and then I think, is that ever going to happen for me? Um, and I second guess the choices that I made thus far, thinking that you know maybe it's just not maybe it's not working for me in the past year because I'm just not good enough and it's not for me. I should just stop now and then change to something else. Um, I should go spend all of my time and energy into something else. And what's worse about having thoughts like this when you're sick and you can't really do anything about it is the fact that in order to feel less uncertain and feel more sure of myself, I put in hours and hours of work to prove to myself that you're capable of the work, of the time, of the thing. Keep going. Here's the evidence that you're building to show that you're worth this, and you can achieve this. But when you're sick and you can't do it, that there's no way to combat the doubt and the uncertainty and the fear. There's no way to combat that with action. And so the anxiety and the rumination and all that stuff just builds up further and further and further. Um, and so that's was another kind of issue that I had with the flu is I was just sitting there thinking about what I've done thus far, thinking about a whole year 2026 ahead, like how am I going to make it better than 2025? If I make it the same as 2025, I might end up in the same spot at the end of 2026 where I'm looking back and thinking, what did I really achieve? What did I really achieve this year? I don't know. So uh, that's why I hate getting sick because I can't do anything. I'm a fucking baby when I get sick. It's tough, but it at least opened my eyes to feeling like these things. And once I got better, you know, this past week, I kind of got back into the rhythm. I'm still a little bit sick. I still have a cough. I still get waves of tiredness to where, I'm not 100% on the ball, planning, thinking, scripting, editing, recording, like all the stuff that if I hadn't gotten sick, that I'd still be doing. That's kind of slowed down this week, into the weekend. But yeah, it's interesting. It was just interesting to feel the things that I was feeling. But then once I stopped being so sick and I was like doing a little bit of it again every day, like Monday I recorded something, Wednesday I edited it. That's Wednesday I edited it. Uh, I was reading a book a day this week because I just felt like I wanted to read and consume. I haven't read and sunk my teeth into something in a while. So I read a book a day. I barely worked. Um, Yesterday, I recorded 6 or 7 little short clips, edited them last night, posted them this morning, and I'm slowly mentally getting back into the groove. And because I'm doing all these things again, it's making me almost forget about the uncertainty and the doubt. I'm just doing the thing. And I've just tried to convince myself that, like, regardless of how you feel, this is your goal. But the only way you're going to achieve it is by continuing to do it. If you stop once again, like, you're not going to achieve it in the first place. So if you really want it, all you can do is just to keep doing it, keep attempting at it, keep working at it, keep chipping away at it, right? That's all you can do. So and slowly you'll grow into more of the skill set that you need, more of the network that you want, more of the work that needs to be done. It'll kind of come with that. So that's where I am now. We're still here. I don't know for how long. I'll be honest with you guys. I wanted to stop the podcast. I wanted to stop the podcast. I wanted to stop the book stuff. I just wanted to step away from it all and just say I dust my hands, say I gave it the good old college try. Um, no harm, no foul, and then just leave it to somebody else. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. And that's where we're at now. So that's a little bit of update on me. That's where I've been. I came back from my vacation. It was a great vacation. I got sick. And now we're here at the end of the year, ready to keep things going, ready to keep things going, ready to keep things moving. And I wanted to do this like year in review thing, but because I'm not the best at figuring one out for myself, I thought I'd lean on somebody for help for this one. And I'm leaning on Sahel Bloom. I'm leaning on his year end review. Chris Williamson has one of his own. Sahel Bloom has his. I'm sure other people have theirs. I don't have one of my own yet, as I'm still working out kind of how I operate, how I work, how I think. But I wanted to use Sahel Bloom's. And so I have 7 questions here. I have 7 simple questions that may change your life. It's a transformative exercise for reflection and growth. And I want to go through this with you guys. We'll say the questions out loud. Hopefully, if you want to reflect with me and, you know, think about these questions for yourself, maybe pause the video as the questions come up and think about your own answers, your own year, your own life, going into 2026, what you want, things like that. And let's kind of review our years together. So the first question is, what did I change my mind on this year? The most successful people realize that finding the truth is much more important than being right. They embrace new information as software updates to their brain. What software updates did I have this year? And it says, remember, if you can't think of anything, it's a bad thing. I'm sure there are things that I changed my mind on this year. I think the biggest thing, which you guys might have been seeing through the past few conversations, is kids. I think I'm much more ready to have a kid and just bring a child into my life. I'm not ready per se, but I've become ready. I've changed my outlook on what it means to have a child, what it means to bring a child into this world, what it means to take care of one, what it means to provide for one, um, who I am in the process, what do I want to, the kind of father that I want to be. I've been thinking about those things a lot. So I think having a child is one of the things that I changed my mind on this year. Another thing that I changed my mind on a little bit this year, I think, is, I think maybe in the past year I've still been depressed, not excited about anything. But towards the end of the year, I started to feel like little kernels of excitement everywhere. And I realized that, um, I was trying to update myself into this newer version of me, this quote unquote better version of me. And I realized that the best version of me is the version of me that was back in 2022, I think. 2022 Arish was really cool. He had physical goals that he was striving to meet every time he went to the gym, whether it's his jump height, whether it's his climbing, whether it's his calisthenic strength, his handstand, all that stuff, his dragon flag. Like, he had goals and he was getting after them, but he also had goals for this. You know, he had goals with the book stuff. He would think about videos very frequently to where even at nighttime he would tell his girlfriend at the time, "Good night, try and go to bed." And 11:30 PM, just because he couldn't sleep, he'd get up and, like, script out questions and video ideas and maybe record some that night to then edit later in the morning. He would go on his walks. He would also read. He would hang out with friends. He had a roommate, so it made it a little bit easier. Um, and all that, he would also find time to work. He wouldn't get too distracted. He was a pretty focused individual. Um, and I thought between 2022 and 2025, I thought I was becoming a better version of that guy, but I feel like I was losing parts of that guy to the person that I am now. I was losing parts of that guy, and I have been going back through like videos and stuff on my phone, just trying to find other things, and I would come across videos of myself, and I would think, "That's a cool guy. I want to be like him again." As opposed to trying to be quote unquote better than him or different than him. I want to go back to being like him. So I've taken steps towards that now. I think I've taken steps towards that um, in some way, form, or fashion. I'm slowly starting to feel a little bit of that excitement again, I think. Um, yeah, I think those are the things that I changed my mind on this year that I can think of right now. The first one being child of my own. And the second one being um, thinking that I'm better than who I was before. I'm actually not. I'm actually worse than who I was before. And if I actually want to be better, I need to go rediscover who I was previously a few years ago. And I think through that process, I will have then achieved a little bit more like personal growth that way. The second question is, what created energy this year? Reflect on your calendars from the year. What activities, people, or projects consistently created energy in my life? Write them down. Did I spend ample time on these energy creators, or did they just get neglected? And the goal is to spend more time on these in 2026. This one's tough. This one is kind of tough because the things that going into 2025 I thought were creating energy for me, right? Like the book videos and the content and all that stuff. Towards the end of the year, it was really draining. It was really, really draining. Um, the walks that I would do, the walk wasn't really giving me energy anymore. But what was giving me energy was actually a little bit of the physical challenges. The active challenges that I've been doing this year have been giving me energy. I'll be honest with that, actually. I think those is what's giving me energy. The active challenge to go on a walk with a weighted vest, the active challenge to figure out where do I want to take my wife on a date this week, next month, etc. The active challenge to actually like, pay attention to the world around me and think, oh, this is a cool place. I want to bring my wife here at some point. This is a cool thing for us to do together. Um, the active challenge of staying at my job, that actually didn't that didn't give me energy. That should drain the fuck out of me. That job still drained the fuck out of me. But I think it's the active challenges, right? Like the challenge of messaging somebody and saying, "Hey, I'd like to invite you on the podcast to have a conversation," and then it turning into a conversation. That's dope. That gives me energy. I think sometimes when I schedule the calls for like X amount of weeks in advance, the excitement dies down a little bit. But then when I'm on the call, it's just really interesting, really fun. And then when I get to listen back to it, um, it feels nice to like think about like, oh, I created this. I was a hand. Creating things this year has given me a lot of energy. I think the act of packaging it and posting it drains my energy, but the creation of it really gives me energy. And what I've what I've started to feel is, sometimes I don't want to create because then I don't want to go through the process of the packaging and the uploading. And I think that's what I was trying to achieve with, like, like, hiring an editor was I like to create the podcast. I do like to message people about them and get them on and talk to them and have things I wanna talk to people about, but at the same time, it is tough when I have to think like, "Okay, cool, I recorded this podcast." I also have to go back in and spend 2 hours editing, clipping, packaging, captioning, posting, titling, timestamping, all that stuff, right? Like, I still have to do all of that stuff, and the back end of that kind of ruins the front end a little bit. Um, you know, I for the past 2 weeks, I've tried a new activity. I don't wanna say what it is just yet, but I have partaken in new personal activity, um, with my boy Canvas. Canvas and I are doing similar things, and this was also spurred by my good friend, one of my best friends, Zach. This new activity was motivated by one of the steps that he took as well, and it's been giving me energy. By the end of it, I'm gassed, I'm beat up, I'm tired, but I feel like I'm waking up the next day like, wow, I have like energy to go about my day again. It's crazy. Um, so I think this new thing that I'm doing, I'm going to take it in 2026 as well. But I think for the most part, to answer this question, what created energy this year, um, actively challenging myself to do things and being present has given me a lot more energy. I'm trying not to operate on an autopilot state. Uh, and that's been giving me energy. I would love to know if like what you guys are feeling, like what's giving you energy, what has given you energy this year. Maybe I can get some inspiration from that for 2026. But that's what's been giving me energy this year. And I haven't had a lot of energy this year. I'll be honest with you guys. I have not had a lot of energy this year. But the conversations with people, connecting with people, has given me a lot of energy. At least to keep going a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. But I'm I'm trying to figure out what my like Iron Man energy source in my center core is that's gonna keep me like going um without needing other people's like, you know, energy to supplement myself. Oh, this is easy question. What drained energy this year? Question number 3. Continue your macro scale calendar examination, but with the focus of the negatives. Review your calendars from the year. What activities, people, or projects consistently drained energy from my life? Write them down. Go spend less time on these in 2026. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I do think gaming reduced a decent amount of energy this year. I just didn't care to game when I forced myself to. I think that's one of the things which I've already stopped doing as much. I don't game as much anymore. I don't play video games as much anymore. I just watch people play games. Or we'll get in Discord and I'll watch Canvas or like Nick or somebody play games, which is more entertaining for me because I can just watch them and we can all banter and stuff. And like I like to talk, I like to chat with them. I just don't care to play the game anymore. I really don't. I feel like there's just no space for it. But when I try and force it and make space, it just doesn't feel good to do so. Eating shitty food, junk food has definitely drained my energy much more this year. Um, and I don't even eat it as a consistent basis as I used to, but I do know that like when I do eat it, I eat a lot of it at one time, and so I feel pretty bad for like X amount of time, and then when I start to feel good again, I'll eat more, and then I'll feel pretty bad. So definitely some nutritional energy draining is happening there. Um, Definitely the job that I'm in has been draining my energy this year. I just have resolved myself to stick it out um, up until the pivot point in 2027. And so um, I'm not sure if it would have been better to find something else or just to stick it out, like stick through an already energy draining activity as opposed to trying finding something else that could not be as energy draining, you know? I don't know what the right answer was there. I just kind of chose what I felt like was right in the moment. But I know that's not going to change in 2026. Unfortunately, it's going to be the same. So I've just been trying to, do all these things around it to keep me sane, happy, enjoying, etc. Um, Books haven't been draining my energy as much, and I enjoy that. I think every now and then I'll read a book that does drain my energy, um, because it's a book that I told myself I'd read, as opposed to a book that I just found, opened up, I like this, and I'll just keep reading it. Sometimes I read a book because I want to finish it because I want to make content on it. Um, but I've noticed that like if I try and read something just to make content on it, it's almost like in the conversation with Baba, we were talking about how, the reason why a lot of us don't like to read after high school and stop reading is because you would have to read in order to write a report or read in order to write something over it and be graded on it, etc. And that just ruins the activity of reading for you. And similarly, like if I had to read something to then make content on it, it ruined the joy of reading for me a little bit. That's why I haven't started Alchemized. Is it still up here? It is. I haven't started Alchemized because I wanted to read it for content. I think it would be good content. It's just reading 1,000-page book for content just feels really fucking bad. And so I just didn't make the time for it. Like thinking about doing it was draining energy. And I was like, I just don't want that right now. I just can't handle that energy drain right now. So I pivoted to books that I actually wanted to read and I did. And it felt better and I felt more energy, etc. So I think forcing myself to do things that I don't want to do really does drain my energy. And I think, I'm not alone in that. I'm sure it's a very common thing. I'm sure you felt it before too, that like forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do drains your energy much faster than anything else. And there's times when I can get by and you can do quite a few things to force yourself to you can just force yourself through a lot of things, but over time it catches up. And this is just one of the things that I think caught up is forcing myself to do the job that I don't want to do every day, maybe forcing myself to have to read something that I don't want to read, forcing myself to edit something that I don't want to edit, forcing myself to post because I hate posting, like all that stuff, right? Like forcing myself to scroll and trying finding people to comment like on their videos in order to like increase engagement and show the algorithm that I'm here as a creator and like somebody who's trying to engage with the community and not just somebody who's trying to like post and go and it's being very passive. Like all that stuff is so draining that finding a way to make it not draining was like the challenge, the active challenge of the year. Um, oh, another thing that was a bit draining was weightlifting this year. I didn't really enjoy it. Like I thought I did, but I really did enjoy the weightlifting this year. Like every time I went to the gym, I left the gym like feeling worse. Not necessarily some days, like some days you have that like one good like workout or whatever, but most days I went to the gym, lifted weights, I picked up heavy things, put them back down, and I just felt worse doing it. Um, So I'm trying to not do that in 2026. To be honest with you, still haven't joined the gym. I left the gym side of things in August, and I haven't been back since. So I'm hoping to keep that up in 2026 and finding something that actually does give me energy. Hopefully, this new activity that I'm doing does. Hopefully, it does. And once I'm in it a little bit more, I'll talk to you guys about it. But hopefully, this is what brings me a little bit more joy. For the like foreseeable future, at least while I'm not like lifting and things like that. Question number 4. Who are the boat anchors in my life? Boat anchors are people that hold you back from your potential. They literally create a drag on your life. Boat anchors are people who will laugh at your ambition, belittle your accomplishments, tell you to be more realistic, eliminate or minimize the energy you give them in 2026. This one's tough. This one's so fucking tough. And here's why. I don't have any boat anchors in my life. Everybody in my life is a balloon who's trying to help me get to where I'm going and get to where I want to go. I feel like I've been the boat anchor in my own life. And this entire year has been like fighting with myself about like what I want, what I'm doing. Why aren't you doing the things that will help you achieve what you want? Why are you doing things that are going against what you want? Why are you pulling yourself back? Why are you getting in your own way? Why are you your own obstacle? I mean, that's what I've been trying to use therapy for. But it's tough thinking that like you're your biggest hater. You know how people always talk about like, fuck the haters, um, ignore them, etc. Like, what if you're your biggest hater? Then what? Then what do? You pay somebody to talk therapy yourself out of that shit. That's what you got to do. Um, or you got to shut that side of yourself up. Um, so that my biggest boat anchor in my life has been myself. I think every single one of my friends and family have been nothing if not support, like nothing but supportive. Um, it's just been me. So 2026, we're gonna try not to get in. I'm gonna try not to get my own way. That's gonna be the goal. What did I not do because of fear? The thing you fear the most is often the thing you most need to do. Reflect on your fear and confront it. Deconstruct the fears that hold you back. What was the downside if I had taken action? What was the upside if I had taken action? Goal. The goal is to get closer to your fears in 2026. This one. Ooh, ooh. I don't want to answer this. Hmm. I mean, I feared leaving my job in 2025. And because of that fear, I'm still where I am. Even though I got promoted this year, and it's still fear where I fear that. I fear change quite a bit. And therefore, I've tried to just continue the things that I've been doing this year, not trying new things necessarily. Um, what else did I fear? I definitely feared calisthenics. Can I be honest with you guys for a second? Even though I've been honest this entire time, I definitely have been fearing calisthenics a bit, like during the beginning and middle of the year, because of just all the injuries that I'd gone through constantly. That like I was scared to try calisthenics again, and or just go as hard as I was going back in like you know my early and mid 20s, just because I was like, you're gonna hurt yourself again. You're gonna hurt yourself again. You're gonna keep hurting yourself, and you need to stop this. Otherwise, you're gonna keep hurting yourself. And I feel like because of that fear, I did things like without energy and without like enjoyment, and that actually caused me to injure myself a little bit more because I was just doing things half-assed, doing things like without like honestly like energy and focus. I was just half-assing things and I got hurt more. Um, so 2026, I'm trying to get back to doing things with energy again. If I want to do calisthenics, do it. If I want to go climbing again, actually do it. Don't just go once and then stop it because it's tough, right? It is tough. I've been out of the game for so long that like just doing pull ups is a struggle. Just doing push ups is a struggle. Just like I can't obviously do a dragon flag anymore. I can't really do a muscle up right now. I also haven't tried because I haven't gotten a fucking pull up bar that'll let me do it. I can't do any of my techniques anymore. I've lost my strength. I've lost my mobility. Right, I've become stiffer. My shoulders are even more rounded than before because I've been sitting at a desk working. So all these things have like kind of caused me to be more afraid of doing the things that I want to do because I'm like, oh, I'm not even in a position to do that. What if I get hurt? Um, but past me, previous me would have been like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And I would generally do it and not get hurt in the process. And it would be tough. And I would go towards it and I would try it again and get better at it progressively. And I just wouldn't get hurt. And if I did get hurt, it wasn't getting hurt. It was just a little bit of the growing pains. But I was afraid of those growing pains. I've become afraid of those growing pains now. What else did I fear this year? There's some conversations with my wife that I feared, I think, because, trying to work on myself and work on these side hobbies and allocating all this time so so tightly. Um, there's certain times when I would like I would understand that okay, you haven't been the best husband, you haven't been the best partner, you haven't been doing things the way that she would want it. whether it's going out or planning things or doing things 2 weeks after she asked you to do them or whatever it is, right? So there's like, when you already know that you're not doing enough or doing the right thing, quote unquote, you already have that like personal or in the mind, you have that nugget of, I already know that I'm not doing it. I really don't want to talk to them about it because it's just going to confirm the fact that I'm not doing it. And then the narrative is out of my hands, the control is out of my hands. So I would definitely fear certain conversations because I was like, I just don't want to have these right now. I already know it. I'm already trying to figure it out. But if I have this conversation, it's just going to solidify and confirm the fact that, I was slacking, I was lacking, I was not doing it, and it's going to feel that much worse. Um, but the times that I did have conversations with her, it was actually a good conversation, and we both came out of it feeling better for the most part. There's certain ones that I didn't come out feeling better. Um, but talking it out is just part of the process for actual change and actual action. Just it sitting in my brain would make it fester, but I wasn't doing anything about it either way. So, yeah. Listen, if you have a partner, talk to them. Don't be afraid of communication. Invite communication. Go forth and find communication. Um, find times to communicate properly about actual things, not just like, how was your work today? Actually ask them questions about themselves, their goals, their fears, what they're thinking about, what they're working on. Don't be afraid to actually get to know your partner. You know what I mean? What were my greatest hits and worst misses? Your natural bias skews how you see your year. Take a balanced view, write them all down, reflect on why the hits hit and the misses missed. Can I call a podcast a miss? Can I call the podcast a miss? Can I call the content a miss? Can I call Fabler all that stuff? Can I call all those misses? Um, I don't know. I think this one's probably tougher than all of them because like I'm trying to think back to like what did really hit, what was dope about the year. Um, and I can't think of that many hits to be honest with you. I think certain conversations that I have with people this year were hits. Um, I think starting up Fabler again was a hit, but I haven't gotten it to where I want it, to where I'd be happy with it sitting, and so that felt like a miss. Um, I started the year off an episode a week for the book channel and a video a week for the podcast channel, and so many videos of the for the book channel were just such misses, and I thought I was hitting. I thought that shit was hitting, and it was just missing. It was just missing so bad, and uh, that's kind of why like I wanted to do this thing. It's kind of making me think actually about how things went. Um, my physique was definitely a miss this year. I've lost muscle and put on fat, and I just don't like it. My wife loves it. I don't like it. She likes it because it's filling my frame out. I don't like it because I just don't like looking at it. Um, I think it was cool that I was able to hit certain weights on, uh, I was able to hit, I think, like 50-pound dumbbell presses finally this year. I hit about 2 or 3 plates on a hack squat this year. That was cool. Or I think the one that I did was a B squat. That was cool because I've never put that many plates on any machine ever or any lift ever. So that was cool. Um, you know, it is interesting looking back at it that things that I think maybe were misses, other people think might be hits. because, my buddy Tim and I were doing a weekly book club thing every Monday on TikTok for a good a good 3, 4, 5 months almost, and we eventually had to stop it because we both got busy, but we just also weren't seeing, like, the turnout that we wanted. But after we stopped, there were quite a few times when, like, I'd be in TikTok lives with other people, and they were like, "I miss those Monday night book club talks because y'all talked deeply about books, and the conversations were really interesting and not high level and not very, like, surface level. It was very engaging to be a part of." So, like, it did hit for other people. It's just we were so caught up in our, like, weekly metrics and weekly XYZ things that we just felt like we were missing constantly. But, we were hitting. It was just hitting to a smaller sample of people than we expected, and, it just hadn't gotten to where we thought it was gonna go. Um, and then when we tried to bring it back in the summer to do, like, an actual book club type of thing, that was even more difficult because we were talking about a book that people didn't wanna talk about because they hadn't read it. So we were just every 2 weeks, we'd talk for 2 hours about a book that nobody was there listening because they hadn't read the book. Um, so yeah, there's that. Those were a couple of hits and misses, I think, as well. My nutrition this year was an entire miss. I think my nutrition this year was an entire miss. One of the hits was finding the protein shake that I like, um, that was cheap, that helped me out. The protein bar also that I've consistently been eating for the past half year, if not more, just because, like, I still like it. It gets me 20 grams of protein every morning, and I haven't gotten sick of it. Um, so that's been nice. I I don't wanna say what they are because 'cause I'm not trying to not sponsored or anything, so, um, a couple of those were hits, the protein bar, the protein shake, a couple of the higher weighted like, weightlifting activities that I did were a couple of hits. This just past week, this new activity that I've been doing has been a hit for sure. I'm glad I started it this year and not waiting until 2026 for it. Um, yeah, I think those are some of my greatest hits and misses. There might be more, but I think that's enough for now. And the last thing, what did I learn this year? It's easy to lose sight of your progress and growth when you're zoomed in. Take time on this one, reflect on the other questions from the exercise, write down what you've learned. Um, what have I learned this year? I've learned a ton of things this year. Honestly, if we're being real, I've learned a ton of things this year. I've learned that I have some inner demons that I'm trying to get control of. I've learned that while talk therapy is nice, as a guy, I'm kind of I feel like I'm getting towards the end of my use with it so far, like, at least for now. There's, like, there's certain things that I can only improve on through action, not talking about it, but, like, doing things, to where, like, talk therapy has made me feel like I'm going in cycles and, like, going in circles, not really feeling better. I learned that I'm more or less a hypochondriac when it comes to self-improvement hacks and self-growth and diagnosing myself with certain concepts that I think like, "Oh, that applies to me. Oh, that applies to me. Oh, that applies to me." Not always do they apply to you, right? When you see a video titled, um, "This is why you're bored all the time," or "This is why you're not excited about anything," or "This is why you can't focus," it's not necessarily like, "Oh, I'm a guy who can't focus. All of these things must be me." Um, it's not. It's not. Don't get sucked up in thinking that every self-growth video is targeted towards you, or that in order for me to get use out of this solution, I must also have the problem. So in order to get use out of these focus hacks, I must also have an issue with focus. Therefore, I will convince myself that I have an issue focusing and or make myself have an issue focusing by inviting more distractions in my life and then being able to use the hacks. That's a little bit of self-sabotage there. Um, I learned a lot about who I want to be, who I am, who I want to be, and who I want to be with, like the people that I want to be around. Um, I think I learned a lot about my capabilities as a person. Um, I kept telling myself like, "You're not putting enough hard work in. You're not putting enough work in, etc." And I think I've proved to myself that I'm a capable hard worker. It's just, you know, I'm also just a very insecure person in general. So like, I need to do all this stuff to make myself feel like I'm something. Um, I learned a lot about just how people operate, how people think through all these conversations that I've had with people this year. Like, so many people are different, but a lot of people are very similar. They just go out and do things. Not a ton of them ruminate the way that I do. Not a ton of them think the way that I do. Not a ton of them operate the way that I do. So the questions that I would ask, the answers I would get would be completely different than what I expected because they're just not like me. I'm asking questions that I want the answers to. And so the way that I'm answering those questions are not like the same way that people are answering those questions, which is cool. I don't want people to give me the answers that I want. I want people to give me the answers that they want to give. I never learned how an X-ray worked, but it kept me curious. I had this motto this year about like I would just ask myself, how does an X-ray work? And it was a question to remind myself to continue to be curious about everything. Like anything that you can think to be curious about, ask a question. There's a question in everything. Um, I like to think of myself as like a know-it-all type of character, and I act that way quite a bit. Um, but I think that's because I know nothing, and so knowing nothing is so scary that I'd rather feel like I know a lot more than I do, simply through assuming that I know what I know it and that I'm right about it, as opposed to asking the question, putting time to like learning it, figuring things out, etc. Um, so I'm relearning not just how to be curious, but how to like take care of that curiosity, right? Like when you're curious, actually letting yourself go down the rabbit holes that you want to, and letting yourself go deeper into the topic, what you're curious about, figuring out everything that you want about it, and then letting it sit, being curious about something else, etc. Right? Um, so thinking about that, learning how to be curious again, I always ask myself like, how does an X-ray work? And I haven't looked it up. I just haven't. I haven't gone through my Claude conversation of like, tell me how an X-ray works from level 0 to level 100, and let's go through it level by level. Walk me through all the basics of it, etc. But the question is always there, reminding me to stay curious, reminding me to ask questions, reminding me to seek out answers as well. Um, I learned that there still are there's no real heroes, or your heroes aren't your actual role models. Or no, how do I put this? You don't need a role model in life in order to do what you want to do. Because every time you have a role model, you'll have your yogurt lid moment. Look it up. Look up the yogurt lid moment. It's pretty funny. I had mine this year as well when I went to Chris Williamson's show. So, and everybody has a yogurt lid moment when they try and meet somebody that they admire. Um, and admiration is fine. Respect is fine. I would just say focus on yourself, not what other people are doing. Um, I also learned to that's a lie. I didn't. I was gonna say I learned to give myself some slack. I haven't. I don't give myself slack at all. I'm probably the toughest on myself because I actively think that I'm not doing enough. Um, when I might be doing too much. Who knows? But I actively think that I'm not doing enough. Man, what else did I learn this year? I don't know. I feel like, you know, I've leveled up in certain ways in terms of like skill set and certain skills, but I haven't necessarily learned something this year. You know what I mean? Um, so maybe I need to like think about learning more in 2026 because I was just doing so much this year that I didn't like have time to learn things. And whatever I thought I was learning through the podcasts and the stuff that I was listening to, none of it sunk in to where I was actually learning it. It just kind of like I would think about it in the moment. It would hit me in the moment, but I would forget the information after the podcast, moving on to the next podcast, etc. So not much to learn there. I'll leave you with this one though. I think I definitely relearned the value of being uncomfortable. I definitely think that I was avoiding discomfort in many aspects of life because I was so uncomfortable in other ones that I was like, I just need if I'm if I'm uncomfortable in this part of my life, I need this part of my life just to be stable for a little bit. I don't want everything to be chaotic and uncomfortable all the time. But in the parts that were comfortable and stable, things actually weren't going that well, right? I was getting complacent again. So I relearned how to invite a little bit of uncomfortability into parts of my life again in order to actually feel good as opposed to feeling really bad, really shitty. That was a very somber personal review. I didn't mean for it to be as rough. Hopefully, it wasn't as rough as I thought as I'm thinking back on it now. Um, those are my personal thoughts. Like those are all very honest thoughts. I feel like I don't think I was acting on any of those or pretending. Um, pretty good 7-question personal review, Sahil Bloom. Pretty good. No wonder you wrote a banger ass book called The 5 Types of Wealth that I also read this year. That was a hit. That was definitely a hit. Um, let me know if you guys like use this as well. Don't worry about giving me your answers. Use your answers for yourself. It's just I'm giving you my answers to help you, you know, do this yourself. But hopefully you use this as well. Think about this. Think about 2025 going to 2026. Next week, I actually want to talk about a lot of my 2026 mottos, goals, things I'm trying to achieve next year. Let's break down New Year's resolutions again. Let's break down 2026 and let's try and like have another good year. Um, but that being said, hopefully, if you're listening to the end here, which is crazy, it's probably two of you or one of you. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.